Welcome into another episode of the Crypto Dojo Show, where we discuss everything that you should know about the world of crypto. Uh, and for today's topic of conversation, what I want to look at is a press release from the Bank of International Settlements, and they are discussing crypto assets. And the reason why this is important is because what we know about the Bank of International Settlements is that it is the bank of all banks. There's a hierarchy when it comes to banks, and at the top of that pyramid is the Bank of International Settlements. So you have the Bank of International Settlements. Underneath the Bank of International Settlements, you have the three largest central banks, which is the Fed in the United States, the ECB, the European Central Bank, and then the BOJ, which is the Bank of Japan. And then underneath those three central banks, there are other central banks. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there are, I say, if the Bank of International Settlements is up there by itself, tier one, tier two will be the three I just named, and then there will be tier uh, three, tier four, so on and so forth. And then you get to the banks like Bank of America, JP Morgan, the more like localized. I mean, they're multinational, but they're not central banks. They're underneath the central banks. They get money from the central banks. So the reason this is important is because the Bank of International Settlement basically provides guidelines and standards for central banks and the banks underneath them. So they basically set the standard when it comes to banking. So they're talking about crypto assets, and this is the Crypto Dojo Show. So it's important that you know what's going on in the world of crypto. So that being said, um, let's get into the topic. So Basel Committee approves disclosure framework and capital standard for banks, crypto asset exposures, and amendments to interest rate risk in the banking book standard, and agrees to consult on third party risk principles. So now we're not going to really look at those second 2 points. We're just going to focus on the crypto part of it. Basel Committee approves disclosure framework for banks' crypto asset exposures and agrees to make targeted amendments to its crypto asset standard. Agrees to update the interest rate shock size and associated methodology in its interest rate risk in the banking book standard. Agrees to consult on updated principles for the sound management of third party risk. Again, we're not going to worry about these 2 points. We're just going to focus on the top one. And this press release came out on July 3rd, 2024. So, these are three initiatives that they were discussing. We're going to focus on the first initiative, which is crypto assets. The committee reviewed the comments received on its consultations relating to a disclosure framework for banks' crypto exposures and a set of targeted amendments to its crypto asset standard published in December 2022. It approved a finalized disclosure framework, which includes a standardized set of public tables and templates covering banks' crypto asset exposure. So they're basically creating rules and guidelines for how much exposure they feel is going to be safe for banks. They are creating rules and guidelines that they feel um, will be safe for banks as it relates to um, them holding crypto assets. These disclosures, these disclosures aim to enhance information availability and support market discipline. The framework will be published later this month with an implementation date of the 1st of January 2026. That As I was reading that was the major key because they gave us a timeline. They're going to be implementing this by January 1st of 2026. So, based off of this information, it's safe to say that by January 1st, 2026, banks are going to be holding crypto assets. The committee also approved a set of targeted revisions to the crypto asset prudential standard. These revisions aim to further promote a consistent understanding of the standard, particularly regarding the criteria for stablecoins to receive a preferential Group 1B regulatory treatment. That basically means different assets, different types of assets that banks hold, they're they may be regulated differently because they're not the same type of product. So they may be regulated differently. So when it's saying it's going to receive a preferential Group 1B regulatory treatment, it's just talking about how it's going to be regulated. The updated standard will be published later this month with an implementation date of again, the 1st of January 2026. Members also discussed the prudential implications of banks as potential issuers of tokenized deposits and stablecoins. Members noted that the scale and magnitude of financial stability risks from such products depend in part on their specific structures and jurisdictional laws and regulations. Based on current market developments, these risks are broadly captured by the Basel framework. So basically, Basel, the BIS, basically they're trying to create a general framework for everybody. So in the US, the rules and guidelines might be this, like based on US law. But then China might have different a different way to look at this. Uh, Europe might have a different way of looking at it. So in each of these different jurisdictions, they may have their own way of looking at things, which is fine. But what Basel does is they try to create a broad uh, framework that um, each jurisdiction can use. So, broadly speaking, this is how we'll regulate this. Now, in your own jurisdiction, you can have even further regulatory requirements, but here we want to make sure that we're at least everybody's at least doing this. So it's bringing everybody into this circle. You know what I'm saying? These rules and these guidelines, they are the circle. So everybody's going to be in the circle. Now, within that circle, you can have your own bubble depending on the jurisdiction. That's basically what that's saying. Where was that? Based on current market developments, these risks are broadly captured by the Basel framework. The committee will continue to monitor this area and other developments in the crypto asset markets. So, at this point, we really just have to understand that, again, this is a real transition that's taking place. This is a great press release just to, help us see a timeline. It helps us see a timeline. So by January 1st of 2026, they're going to implement these amendments in this framework. So, I really got into the space in like 2020, 2021, and I thought I was late. But at this point, I see it's still very, very early. It's still very early. So, hopefully this information is beneficial for you. Hopefully it helps you to develop your frame of reference. Again, I am the frame of reference, you know, phenom. So just absorb it, take it, use it how you can. And with that being said, I do appreciate you, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Crypto Dojo Show, where we discuss everything you should know about the world of crypto.